because the weather is harassing me. But I'm excited, really, really excited that I get to meet all of you, and it's a great honor that I've been invited here. For me, this day reminds me about 15 years ago, when me and two friends of mine were starting the gay movement in Uganda. And so yesterday someone was trying to make my biography, because next week I'm going to be in the European Parliament addressing them on the challenges we have in Africa. And someone read in my Wikipedia that I'm the mother of the gay movement. It's like, Kasha, how old did you start this movement? And I was like, actually, I started this movement the day I went out of my mother's womb, because I didn't have anything to change about myself. So my movement started the day I was born. And many people wondered, how come that you are always out, you've never been in the closet? It's because I was ignorant myself. I didn't know it had to be a big deal about my sexuality. So I openly lived gay all my life until I got tired of being expelled. In university, on my final year, I almost missed my final exams. And so that's when I really got interested in my sexuality. And I had to find out, why is it a big deal for me to just write a love letter to a fellow girl? And so I did a lot of research about my sexuality, and that's when I found out it was illegal to be gay. And to me, that was unheard of, unacceptable. The parts of Africa, but even around the world. And immediately I changed courses. After my degree in accounting, I said, I'm not going to go for further studies in accounting. Let me go for human rights. I needed to understand the constitution of Uganda. I needed to understand the penal code. I needed to find out, why is it really a big deal? That was my journey to where I am today. I've never looked back, and I don't think I'm going to look back for as long as I still have a mouth, and for as long as I still have breath in me. Also, the brevity of you people all here who left, because the only way you can continue this struggle is if you're safe. And so I'm really glad that you're all here and trying to do something. You have not only come here to get peace and safety, but you've also not forgotten where you've come from. And for me, that is really, really something I'm looking forward to, even in the interactions with you here. So, to start my speech, sorry, it took so long. To start my small presentation, I didn't really prepare, because I don't like to read speeches. I like to speak from the heart, and I like to talk from experience. This is experience that we go through every day in Uganda. And many of you may know what is happening in Uganda, because most of you here are Ugandans, and because this organization was started by Ugandans. But I'm also glad that you have not only closed it to Ugandans, because it's very imperative that people from the diaspora, from the whole of the continent, get to meet in places like this to strategize, because what affects people in Uganda affects people in the rest of Africa. And we've seen this happening. In 2006, when the anti-gay bill was started in Nigeria, I was among the first people on the on the African Solidarity Listserv, who said that if this has started in Nigeria, it's going to spread around the whole continent. So we need to really join forces with Nigerians to see to it that we stop this bill from becoming law. And since 2006, we've been working as this African solidarity to make sure that the law does not go through. Of course, it's been a challenge and so many years, but I think we've also seen that after Nigeria, Uganda followed. And immediately the law was signed into law in Uganda, we saw other countries coming out. Ethiopia was one of them. We saw Kenya saying they're also going to start. There's actually a draft bill in Kenya right now. We've seen Gambia, the law was passed recently. We've seen Chad. So in Uganda, but it does not mean that Uganda is worse than any other country. We've seen people being arrested in Cameroon. We've seen people being arrested in Gambia. So if you all come together as people in the diaspora, you also bring back the Ubuntu that we've lost on the continent. We are a continent that has grown in communal settings. But what is going to divide those communal settings? It's because of the harassments, the stigma, the homophobia. And Africa, as Mariam has said, all this homophobia is imported from our colonial masters. If you go and read all our African sexualities, there is documented history that all cultures had same-sex relations, even up to today. We still have the Igbos of Nigeria. We still have the Kisses of Tanzania. So this is something that we need to bring back together on the continent. The Ubuntu is lost. We are turning against each other. We've seen this in Kenya, tribalism. We've seen this in genocide. People are turning against each other. So it's us now to really work together as a collective, not only saying that we're going to work alone as Uganda, let Kenyans deal with their issue. We cannot win the fight on the continent if we do not join forces. And we can't win it alone. We need you people. You have some breathing space. You have policies here that can give you, and even more resources that can give you a platform. I can't believe I'm in a church. Honestly, I can't believe I'm in a church discussing this. When I go to church, somehow I always think I have bad luck. Because every time I go to church, they're condemning homosexuals. But here I am today in a church, addressing an issue that is so contagious on my continent. So I'm really, really so happy that even you have the support of the church here. And this is something that you can build on. You've started small, but you're going to go because you're on the right track. So I'm really happy that this forum is here to bring people together and to discuss challenges. Not only your challenges here, because I know you have a lot of challenges. Many of you are still homesick. But the only way you can be able one day to set foot back home is to also work with us back home. The only way for you to one day say, thank you, Holland, for hosting me, but I think it's time to go home, is if you work with us and so that we can make it a better place for you to one day return. Many of you are losing loved ones. Many of you left without your family's support because they're the ones who are actually fighting you. But one day for you to be able to come back and make peace with the family, with the government, is if you work with us at home. And when I say work with us, do not do harm. Do not think that you know the situation better than the people on the ground. You might have lived it, but times change, environments change. Today I can walk on the street and no one is pointing. And the next day I walk on the same street and people are running after me. People say you're the one who is recruiting our children. So always when you want to help people at home, consult. People at home know the situation better. We know what strategy can work in a particular time. Sometimes we're the ones who are telling you, go and make noise, go and protest, go on every embassy and make it very loud. And then sometimes we feel that we need quiet diplomacy. So always listen to the people on the ground. When we say we need quiet diplomacy, go and meet with the churches quietly, go and meet with the politicians, do that. And together, that way we can make our home better. And I'm looking forward for that day when all of you will say, thank you, Holland, but it's time to go home, because it will be much safe for you. And just to share with you what we are doing back home on the continent, because we have continental bodies that we work together. As I've said, we cannot only win this as individuals. We have the Coalition of African Lesbians on the continent, where we meet as lesbians on the continent to discuss our issues, our space in the women's movement, our space in the feminist movement. And we also have AMSHA that works with the gay men to deal with issues of gay men. What are the issues affecting gay men on the continent? How can we talk to our governments to improve these policies? And then we also have one for transgenders. Then we all come together as one voice under the Pan-African yoga. So it would also be good if Ungum can join the yoga world body, because it's orientation. And here we lobby the United Nations, we lobby the African Commission. And I don't know if most of you know, but at least we made a stride on the continent. Finally, after 7 years of struggle to be accepted at the African Commission, and we haven't yet been accepted, but at least we managed to get countries to agree that even if you're still not accepting homosexuality, even if you still think homosexuality is important, at least you can agree that violence towards LGBT people is unacceptable. And we managed to get the African Commission to at least agree on this. And last, in April, at least there was a statement that came from the African Commission. And for us, we feel that is a big step towards a change, because at least now governments have committed to protecting sexual minorities on the continent. And even the UN, you're here, you have the opportunities. Come and start engaging with us in these forums at the UN, so that you can see, because we're going to fight at home, but our countries are also signatories to these international instruments. How do we hold them accountable? The only way we can hold them accountable is if we can also engage on the international level and be able to understand and break down, to understand the human rights jargon, and then we can go home and be able to domesticate these instruments. So some of the things we are doing as a continent is to engage with the African Commission, engage with the United Nations, but also engage with the European Union. And that's why a few of us, about 6 activists from Africa, are meeting for 1 week starting tomorrow in Brussels, to see how we can also bring the European Union to work with us and be able to support us even in our countries. And then on the national level, as many of you know, in Uganda we challenged the anti-gay bill in Parliament on the 1st, in the Constitutional Court. And of course it was a big victory because we are using the courts. So far we've been in court six cases and we've only lost one. And of course we know why we lost it, because the bill had just been signed, but we are also appealing it. But we won the court case, but that does not mean that everything is fine now. We did not change the penal code. So the violence is still going on. As I speak today, most of you who saw my Facebook page, one of my colleagues, a very young upcoming activist, energetic, was beaten badly last night, and he was taken in intensive care. So the violence is still going on and it's real. Evictions are still going on. So winning the court case did not take away everything. It was a step forward, but already now we know the members of parliament have already drafted another new bill. So the struggle is still going on. But even as we are still fighting in Uganda, we have to protect other African countries to prevent this virus from spreading further and further. And that's why we're in the East African Court of Justice. We won the court case, but we also still want to go to the East African Court of Justice, and we already did. The first conference happened 2 weeks ago, because we want the East African countries to know that you cannot make these laws, it's unacceptable. And that's why we are going onto a regional level. And if we fail there, we're going to go to the African court, because we want to stop these bills from spreading around the whole continent. And the only way we can do that is if we utilize the regional courts. So that is one of the other things we are doing. And secondly, we are also suing all these friends of ours who came and reported all this propaganda onto our continent. We already had the propaganda that was left behind by our colonial masters. But now we have new friends from the Americans who have put it upon themselves to come and, import what has failed in their countries, because these people are nobodies in their countries. No one even knew Scott Lively on the continent, but Scott Lively is all over the world now on the internet, because he's made a name of himself by harassing other people and committing crimes against humanity. And I want to tell you, the court case against the Americans is still going on in Massachusetts, and we are going to make sure that they are held accountable. And we are doing this to stop other Americans who are thinking of going around the world to spread this anti-gay propaganda, to stop. Because this was not done only in Uganda, it was done in Russia, it was done in Moldova, and we've seen a trend. So we are using this course to make sure that other people do not do this in the future. And also lastly, my message to the Netherlands government. Netherlands has been a very big supporter of gay rights. It's one of the countries that has come out strongly. Even when I was starting with my colleagues these movements, they were first of the people who came and supported us. But also, sometimes I feel they're giving us with one hand and taking away with the other. They are very happy to come and condemn our government. They're always saying, Kasha, what can we do when I'm home? But why is it that when my colleagues come here, they are also instead harassed? It is their right, it is the right of every citizen in this world to go and seek asylum. Why is it that when people come to seek asylum here, they are again subjected to the same struggles that they are running away from? So that is a strong message, and I'm glad that Ungom has started this forum. You need to engage. You need to engage with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here, with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the migration system. Because I've gotten cases, every day I get cases into my inbox, phone calls, and people are being told to go to migration with video tapes of themselves having sex. What kind of degrading is that? So we also need to really break down and understand why is it that Netherlands is supporting us at home, but when our friends come here to seek refuge and safety, they are getting subjected to this inhuman treatment. So that is something that Ungom should really take up on. But also try to open wider. Try to open wider and because next time, for example, I'm invited here, I want to see this room filled, because I know there are lots and lots of people who would want to be here today, but they do not know how to reach you. And this is a platform that is really, really going to reign. So even the government itself, I don't know if there are government officials here, they need to start engaging with you directly and supporting you even financially, because you cannot do this work without finances.
That is for truth. The government should be able to support you, to be able to reach very, because I know people, I have a friend who has just left Uganda in the camp, very far from here, and I wanted him to come today because he's new here, and he couldn't come because of transportation. So you're supposed to be having an account as an organization so that you can be able to transport your own people to come to this. Because this is a very big platform, I'm telling you. People are homesick. People are really looking for a place to call a family. This is a new family for many people seated here. So you should be able to be very frank and tell the government we need resources. Not only technical resources, not only financial resources, but we also need financial resources. That's the only way you can be able to go to the UN. Because you're going to need a hotel to stay when you're engaging with the UN. Who is going to pay for those bills? So you need to get that kind of support when you're here. I'll not talk much, I think I've already talked much, but I'm really, really happy that you gave me this opportunity to be here. I'm so looking forward to engaging with most of you, but remember, we have to work together because we want to make that place safe for you so that one day you return your books to the Dutch government and say thank you, time to go home.